Assalamualaikum and basically Assalamualaikum. Today me and my friend from group uh basically okay. So, Assalamualaikum and hi, good night. Today my friend and I will be present our group assignment. So my group member is Muhammad Rakib Ansari, Muhammad Harizal Free, Aidil Azrin, and Ahmad Nopal. So the first library is next slide. The first library is Royal Danish Library, which stand for Denmark National Library. The Royal Library in Copenhagen in Denmark National Library, as well as the University of Copenhagen University Library. It's one of the world's largest library as well as the largest in the Nordic region. It united with Arthur State and University Library in 2017 to establish a new national library. So basically, the Danish Library is the National Library of Denmark. So that's all from history and background information. So the next slide. So the next slide is about the collection in library. So the Royal Danish Library have a Danish collection which called as National Collection. The collection have been created through legal deposit in an obligation by all printer to send one of more copy. So another collection is Danish newspaper is also available. The library newspaper collection includes all newspaper published in Denmark since 80, 1634 with one exception, local community paper published outside Copenhagen. So the next collection is the manuscript collection. So what is the manuscript collection? The manuscript collection is the Royal Library manuscript collection contain manuscript which range from the early Middle Age to the present. The manuscript are primarily through the exclusive. So the next slide. So the next slide is about retrieval tool used in the library. So the National Danish Bibliography ha, uh, has a long and well-established history, beginning with the publication in 1851 of a list book and periodical published in Denmark. During the second half of the 15th century, this was supplement with respective bibliography covering work published the Kingdom of Denmark between 1482 and 1850. So originally, the National Bibliography was published in printed form. This was supplemented with digital form in the 1980s and during the 1990s, succeeded by online record in database. In 2004, the last printed part of the National Library Bibliography appear. Now, the entire National Bibliography is found online as record in the Royal Library of Paris. So the next slide. So the next slide is about the physical arrangement of library material. So they have a classification system, subject classification code, which contain choose advanced search, uh, then choose subject search instruction for use are just above the search form. So they have managed if you are searching for book on specific subject, there are several approach. Search on works, work from books, title or subject term. You can make a simple search in Rex by typing one more words that describe the subject. So the next slide. So the next slide, we can see the staffing in library. So the chief executive is Sven Lensen, CCT, CC Anna Christensen as a deputy director and head of digital transformation, Eric Hempstead as a deputy director and head of Aarhus University Library and Library Service and Partnership. Kira Hansen as deputy direction and head of Copenhagen University Library Service and Partnership, while Metis Mevillet as a deputy director and head of administration. So the next slide. The next slide is about limitation. So in my opinion, the disadvantage of the Royal Library Danish website is other features are not so many. When you enter the website, you don't have many options to find more feature like either library website. Sometimes Google search and find the feature. This thing is hard for you to find because it's too temptation to use. So the collection option also they are hard to find and very few make it difficult to find a desired material. Similar to what happened, but material and collection difficult find sometimes you can find, and so you need to go to Google search again to find the material. So the next slide. So the next slide is about impact of information center collection. So we have know when the impact of the Royal Danish Library is giving impact to their own people. They are serving as University of Copenhagen publish or in the next slide will be read by present by Rakib Ansari.
So I would like to thank Haris for giving me opportunity to do this slide. So in conclusion, there are many benefits that the Royal Danish Library has done to the regional community. They are responsible for managing all the types of materials and successfully displaying and giving exposure to the public. Various services and events have been provided to help and increase the number of users so that its use can be benefit to everyone and enjoyed by users from other countries as well. Since we know this is the since we know this is the national library to the country of Denmark, this library has provided a lot of material and highlights the material originating from that country. We can see how organized and well kept the store material has been for hundreds of years. This is very impressive, and this action should be commended for having the effort to preserve the treasure of the country that will be able to remain and be seen by the children and the pusher. Next. So for the second library, we take Singapore National Library. For history and background information, the National Library was founded in 1823 and is intimately linked to the creation of Singapore's first major educational institution. The Singapore Institution, today known as the Raffles Institution, as well as Sir Stamford Raffles, the creator of modern Singapore. The early years. As part of the Singapore institution, the library was able to student employees. However, for a monthly fee of 25 cents, any member of the public may use the library and borrow books. However, in response to growing public demand for the library to be accessible beyond school hours, the Singapore Library was established and officially inaugurated on 22 January 1845. After paying a $2.50 monthly fee, invited members of the public might access the library. As a result, the Singapore Library was the city's first state subscription library. The post-war years. On December 1, 1100, the library reopened to the public under British administration. During the Japanese occupation, the library tenacity, state fitness, and relative safety reinforced its position and value as an icon of Singapore cultural legacy, an example and dedication by all to sacrifice society via shared knowledge and experience. Next, collection in the library. With approximately 300 pieces, the long queue reference library primary collection is national collection. Its strength is in Singapore history, political and economic history, literature and social and cultural history. Microfilms, maps are the visual resource, infographic and poster, as well as print publication are available in a variety of formats. Assessing the rare collection. The rare items in the National Library are stored under regulated temperature, humidity, and lack condition due to preservation concerns. Research are urged to use surrogate copies of rare materials, microfilms, or digital version. Microfilms can be seen on the level 11 of the Lincoln Chain Reference Library, while digitized copies can be found on BookSG website. Digital access. Singapore National Library also have digital access to find selected material have been digitized and made available on the following website: BookSG, Newspaper SG, and NORA. For on-site access, the collection is divided into topics areas and is located on level 8 to level 11 of the Lee Kong Chen Reference Library. Next. Retrieval tools in the library. The National Library is responsible for 4 primary stationery functions: legal deposit, web archiving, National Library Service, and National Unique Catalogue. The National Library can collect, conserve, organize, and give access to items linked to Singapore literally and cultural history through these legacy duties. The Singapore National Bibliography, Publication SD. As a chosen bibliography, the Singapore National Bibliography began in 1969. It was updated to Publication SG in 2050, which now include all works published in Singapore and deposit with the National Library. The National Library, the collection of our country published heritage, is known as Publication SG. More than 1 million things have been collected. The discipline of literacy and visual arts, business and social science, and humanities are all covered. National Union Catalogue. The National Union Catalogue is a compromised record of Singapore collective holdings and a full tools for resource sharing both locally and globally. The National Library takes the lead in consolidating and connecting Singapore collections and resources held by other libraries and information centers, working with contributing members. Lastly is web archiving. From January 31 and 2019, the National Library will have a new stationery function. The National Library under paragraph 7 2FA of the NLB Act has the authority to make copies of any online content made available on the Singapore website without the website owners or produce express approval. Next. 2.4 Physical arrangement of library material. The first one is cataloging. The Singapore National Library resources are organized in accordance with the cataloging in publication system. SIP is a services provided by the Singapore National Library Board to local publisher for publication produced in Singapore. It is a voluntary initiative of collaboration between publisher and LB that is given at no cost. Shelving. Singapore National Library do shelving using a separate book collection. For example, Level 8 have a collection books about arts and also social science and humanities. At level 9 have Malay, Chinese and Tamil collection. Lastly, at level 11 of this library have Singapore and Southeast Asian collection. Lastly, Singapore National Library have digital access. Users can easily find books using a digital access. It's easy to use. Users that want to search information about their book can just put the name, date, title, and subjects. There are 3 internet access at Singapore National Library. The first one is BookSG, Newspaper SG, and also NORA. So for the second slide, I will give Aidil to present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rakib. Now I will proceed with 2.5 staffing in library. Singapore National Library have their own management team that being handled by Mr. Ng Che Pong as Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Catherine Lau, Mr. William Tan, and Mr. Jin Tan as Assistant Chief Executive that have to handle the facility at SNL. In this SNL, there were 4 groups, which is Archive and Libraries, Partnership and Strategy, Corporate and Technology Service. They also have a board of directors, 3 division, which is SNL Corporate Communication, People Matters, and Internal Adult. This is an organization structure that being used in Singapore National Library. Next. Okay, 2.6 limitation. There is a lot of things Singapore National Library had that impressed me, but it also have a lot of common things that this library didn't have. There are some information that I couldn't get. For example, I couldn't get some information about physical arrangement that SNL used. This library also didn't have a lot of picture. If this library have a lot of picture, I can use it to do more research about it. For example, pictures at rare collection floor didn't have much that I can use to do research about it. Next. 2.7 Impact of Information Center collection. There is a lot of impact that this library bring to their people. Plus of that, there are many facilities that provided by this library to help visitors that come and visit this library. Internet access that Singapore National Library access have also helped a lot of in finding information about book that visitor want. Landscape at Singapore National Library also have a lot of chill vibe that makes study become more relaxed to visitor that study here. A relaxed place can stimulate mind to easily memorize things. Next. Okay, for the 2.8 conclusion, to summarize, Singapore National Library has provided several benefits to the local population. They are in charge of handling all sorts of food as well as successfully exhibiting and exposing them to the public. In addition, Singapore National Library also have a various collection that they have been collected. Singapore National Library also offers a comprehensive variety of service, including access to electronic database, document delivery service, microfilm, and audiovisual. Other service provided by the library include wireless internet access and the use of reading and conference rooms. Next. Okay, National Library of Scotland is our third library. The library for the history, the library of the Faculty of Advocates exists before the National Library of Scotland. The Advocates Library in Edinburgh was founded in the early 1680s and publicly inaugurated in 1689. It was given the legal power to print a copy of every book published in Britain under the 1710 Copyright Act. The library continued to add books and manuscripts to its collection over the age, both through purchase and legal deposit. In all but name, this resulted in the creation of a national library. The building was flooded on February 26, 2009. The water main of the 12th floor ruptured. Firefighters were dispatched and within 10 minutes, the leaking water had been melted. Several objects were slightly harmed. The Scottish Parliament enacted the National Library of Scotland Act 2012 and on May 16, 2012, and it gained royal assent on June 21, 2012. Next. 3.2 collection in library. Manuscript. The first one is manuscript. The library archive and manuscript collection are among the largest archive collection in the country. Among these important collection are internationally significant literary manuscripts from the early modern period to contemporary Scottish writers, papers of politicians and of political parties, Gaelic manuscript, publisher archive, material relating to the Scottish Enlightenment, estate papers, missionary archive, and exploration and mountaineering collection. The second one is newspaper. The National Library of Scotland newspaper collection is one of the largest in the UK. It is also the largest in Scotland. Items range from the earliest newspaper printed in Scotland to online title running thousands of pages. Collection include a representative sample of the UK regional press and a selection of overseas newspapers. The library also has some newspaper on microfilm to help reduce the handling of rare and fragile material. The third one is moving image archive. The National Library of Scotland collects, preserves, and promotes access to film capturing Scotland and the people from the early days of filmmaking to the present day. In the moving image archive, you will discover over 46,000 items, including film cams, videotape, and digital files. For to present.
All right. Thank you to Aidil. So now we're going to talk about retrieval tools. Several catalogs, index, and database from the National Library of Scotland are available online to assist users in finding objects in the collection. Library search provide in a single search of records from our main catalog alongside detail of manuscript and archive, movie image and digital collection, electronic publication and database. Library search is a new National Library of Scotland service which replaces the main catalogue and provide wider access to the collection. Scottish Bibliography Online. This was a database with three separate components which had records of material held at National Library and elsewhere. It is being redeveloped as part of the National Bibliography of Scotland. Bibliography of Scottish Literature in Translation. This resource listing foreign translation of the works of Scottish authors from 1500 onwards is no longer maintained, although user can still consult archive data. So for next one is physical arrangement of library materials. The National Library of Scotland has a project team that can work on shelving all the materials in the library. A project team led by one of Steve manager, Jim Young, collaborate with the library estate department to find cost-cutting opportunities. The shelving at Causeway site different from that at George 5 Bridge, which was a concern. For a single item, space saving may appear insignificant, scarcely worth worrying with. However, the size of the library holding is such that the space that can be clawed back when compound goes a long way toward alleviating the strain on the shelf caused by the many thousands of items at each year. Stored by shelf number. Since 2004, the space rationalization effort has saved about 6,000 meters, the equivalent of nearly 2 million in new create space. One result is that books are not now shelved by subject classification, staff as well as readers. Uses the online catalog to pursue a line of inquiry. So armed with the shelf number, the book's fetchers can just as easily retrieve required material. For the next one is staffing. So the first one is Joe Stevenson as event assistant. The second one is Trevor Thompson as general collection assistant. The third is Helen Kinleyside as senior acquisition librarian. The fourth, Mary Gardner as a conservator, and the last one is Tony Dixon as collection support services assistant. So for the limitation, National Library Scotland has a lot of useful information that can be found, and it also has some limitation. For example, it's hard to find information that users want to find because the system is complicated for those who are first time using it. The information that is given also is a little more than what to be expected. National Library Scotland has a lot of useful information that can be found, and it also has some limitation. For example, it's hard to find information that users want to find because system is complicated. Next. So 3.7 is impact of information center collection. The library is able to draw on its rich collection to bring new perspective to key periods or events in history or literature. The library also offers internships and traineeships at the library. They are able to give young people a unique learning experience at one of the country's most respected institutions. It is an investment in the future of the libraries and archive. Research partnership. The National Library Collection, owing to their volume, depth, and breadth, can support any conceivable field of research. At any one time, they are involved in a number of collaborations that allow them to promote research and knowledge sharing with institutions across Scotland. One of the partnership is University of Glasgow, with innovative projects like Murius Park International Symposium, a collaborative research project on the works of Ellen Ramsay, and the digitization of oral history tapes from the university archive. And for the last one is conclusion. So in conclusion, the library provides free information for users to do research about their library. They also play a special role in the web of support community provided for youth. With all the collection they have, it will attract more people to come often to the library and gain knowledge. The National Library of Scotland is a reference library with world-class collection. Last but not least, it is also Scotland's largest library and one of the major research libraries in Europe. Their collection ranges from rare historical to online journals, covering almost all subjects and also specialized Scotland in history and culture. So that's it from our group. Thank you.